Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of Torch Sports. We start, as we normally do, with the Orange Zone crew, that being Sophie Starkey, Luke Attal, and Luke Lamery. I'm your host, Jackson Schuck. And baseball season has finally arrived, and we're going to celebrate by taking a look at the 2025 Tennessee Volunteers team. And this is a pretty team to look at. Obviously, they've got big shoes to fill coming in after a national championship, the first in program history. But when you look at this team, I think it's a little bit assuring as a whole. I mean, obviously, Hunter Ensley out in center is a nice kind of centerpiece from last year. It's almost like a whoopee considering that, Christian Moore is gone. The big names are gone. Dalton Bargo at first base replacing Blake Burke. Blake Burke. Gosh, I'm out of shape. As a whole, I mean, we got Cannon. I mean, the roster looks good this year, and I want to hear what you guys have to say because, like I said earlier, big shoes to fill. They don't necessarily have the star power that they did last year, but regardless, it's a good team.
I think so, and immediately when I look at that graphic and I look at the team that we have this year, I go to guys like Hunter Ensley and Dalton Bargo, because Hunter Ensley is the leader of this team. He's one of the two seniors on this team. There are only two seniors, him and I believe Colby Backus is the other senior. But Hunter Ensley is the leader of this team, and that's very clear and very apparent. People respond to him. He's been around this team for a while. He's been in the system, so he is the standout leader for this team this year. But then a guy like Dalton Bargo, he's a utility guy, and Vitello knows that. Vitello is going to put him wherever he needs to be, and Dalton Bargo is going to be happy playing wherever he needs him. He's played first base, he's played catcher, he's played multiple other infielder positions.
Kind of like a wild card.
Exactly, and that's the kind of guy that you want on your team, a guy who's not, only plays one position, a guy that's multifaceted. You want someone like Dalton Bargo there to be able to be that utility guy for the Volunteers this year.
Absolutely. I want to take a look at someone new that maybe a lot of people haven't seen. A new face, our freshman left fielder, that being Jay Abernathy. He's from Atlanta, Georgia. He chose the right SEC school, but he's going to be this team's new runner. His specialty is speed. Although he's very versatile, speed is what he's going to contribute to this team. Looking at the UNC Asheville game, he scored 5 runs, stole 4 bases, had a single, and 4 walks. So what that tells me is that he's patient at the plate. He knows how to read pitches well, but also he's quick on his feet, can make fast decisions, and confuse the infield. I was at the UNC Asheville game. They did not know how to handle him. He stole home a couple times, and I can't wait to see what he does for this Volunteers team.
Well, just looking at him, he kind of gives me Ricky Henderson vibes. Just out there sliding in. He's going to pick up the base after he steals it. Look, this team, they lost a lot of big names. Let's not, beat around the bush, I guess. But they kind of remind me of Vol basketball in the way that we recruited very well. We picked up some transfers, and all of a sudden, we're kind of back to where we were. I don't want to say that we're at the same level, but we definitely filled in those gaps pretty well. Guy I'm looking at is Gavin Killen. Look, he's a small but mighty guy. He only weighs 180 pounds. He hit 9 bombs last year. He's a transfer from Louisville. He hit 9 bombs at 180 pounds. I mean, there's a lot of power behind that bat for his size and stature. Really impressive. 265 average last year. When he was at his freshman year, he hit 0 bombs, and he had a 300 average. So, look, this guy can really hit. He's got some power behind him, and he's really impressive. If he can hit his 300 average, 330 average like he hit last year, I mean, he's going to be 4th in the lineup. If you put his average like you did in our lineup last year, he'd be 4th in the lineup. So he's got some power behind him for his size. He's a small guy. I think he's 5'11". Okay. Not to say that that's offensive in any way, but I'm saying, he's not the biggest guy out there. I think you're 5'9". Anyway, I'm sorry. I'm digging a hole here. But
move on to the next point.
But look, he's a small but mighty guy, and he can get the job done.
Yeah, and I think the other thing to mention when we look at the team this year is, yes, we lost a lot of guys, but I don't think this team is any less deep than it was last year.
Absolutely not.
And the graphic that we threw up there, those were the starters for the most recent game, and I think that's key to say and put out there, because in the entire series against Hofstra and the game against UNC Asheville, there was a different starting lineup out there every single time.
Yes.
So this team is incredibly deep with how many different players they can move around at different positions. And the guy I'm looking at, you mentioned freshman, I'm looking at Manny Marine. This guy had a 389 batting average his senior year of high school, was one of the top-ranked players coming out of Florida. He played shortstop in high school, but he started as the third baseman against Hofstra in the first game of the series. And he had a good game. He had 2 hits, no strikeouts. But this is a guy who is incredibly, like you mentioned, Jay Abernathy. This guy is also very fast. Manny Marine has some wheels on him, and he also has a pretty talented bat on him. Right? He can get the hits. He's not the biggest slugger of the group, but he's
not hitting bombs.
He's not hitting bombs.
Going yard.
But, I mean, he has the ability to, but he's the kind of guy who's going to develop as he continues with this program, and I think he's going to be really fun to watch this year as he plays for the Vols.
Coach Vitello in the recruiting process definitely targeted more runners, I think, because he saw how much that benefited us in that national championship game. So can't wait to see what these guys do.
You know what I'm excited for? Baseball season is saying stuff like that. He went yard. He hit a nuke.
He hit bombs.
That was a real
New
nuke.
terminology. Well, let's look at the pitching staff to take a look at maybe who hopefully will not have to experience many bombs, as you would like to put it. Let's take a look at this graphic if we can get it. I want to highlight especially Liam Doyle, the transfer out of Ole Miss, set to be the ace for the Volunteers this year. Marcus Phillips following him, Nate Snead, Brandon Arvidsson. After that, you have the relievers. It's a pretty good lineup. Obviously, when you look at it compared to last year's, it might be a little dicey. Regardless, it's a good set of guys, and I think the ace and Liam Doyle is really going to be a big part of that.
Yeah, and you mentioned Liam Doyle. He started the first game against Hofstra. 11 strikeouts in that game. He was on fire in that game. And you mentioned him being kind of the guy for us. I think he's going to be great for us, right? You saw it in that game. He has a ton of potential. You can strike out 11 guys in one game. You're doing something right? And the thing about the pitching as well, like I mentioned, a lot of Vol fans in the past were a little skeptical of the pitching on the previous teams. Is it going to be good? Is it not going to be good? And I think there was some discussion about that earlier this season. But I think this first series and game against UNC Asheville showed you that, again, we're pretty deep when it comes to the pitchers. You got Marcus Phillips and Brandon Arvidsson, who both had 4 strikeouts when they went out and pitched for the Vols. Arvidsson in 2 innings got 4 strikeouts. And then you got guys like Nate Snead, who, he was listed as a starter because he started there last game, but he might end up being a closer like he was last year for the Vols. And he's that returning guy that's going to bring a lot of, experience back to the team.
Absolutely. Continuing with Nate Snead, there was a lot of eyes on him approaching the beginning of the season, being one of those returning pitchers, being a huge part of the national championship, being a reliever, kind of filling a lot of pitching roles throughout the 2024 season. He got his first official start in the 3rd game of the Hofstra series, and he had 3 straight innings. He did phenomenal. He only allowed 1 run, 2 hits, and he struck out 3 batters in 3 different innings. So really excited to see what he's going to do throughout the season. They're still moving him around, going to develop that perfect spot for him, but he's going to be a huge reliability in this pitching rotation.
Plenty of experience in this room,
100%.
in the bullpen, especially in the starters. I like that they've brought some age, whether it's from Tennessee or not in the transfers, regardless, it's a good combination of experience, which I think will rub off, especially as we get later into the year, not 4 games in.
Well, you talk about experience, we can talk Nate Snead, because Nate Snead was in the bullpen last year. You want to talk about that bullpen. I like your point, what you said, the bullpen and I guess the pitching depth has been something that I guess has been in question since not only this year, but last year. Do we have enough depth? Do we have enough talent in there? And I think absolutely this year we do. I mean, you look at guys like Tegan Keene, who we talked about him earlier a little bit. He was the guy that enlisted in the draft. Not enlisted like he. That sounds like that sounds like it's Vietnam. What I'm saying is that he. What is the word I'm looking for?
Withdrawed his name from
He
the
withdrawed
draft.
his name from the draft, but what is the word? Declared.
He did not
He got
declare
there.
for
He
the
got
draft
there.
from Major League Baseball.
What's wrong with me today? What's wrong with me? Okay. He declared for the draft, withdrew his name. My point is that he's got heart. Okay, he wants to play here. He wants to play for Tennessee. He cares. He's got talent. He's got talent to go to the leagues, but all of a sudden he's here. So we have depth, we have talent, and we have the ability to make a solid run with our pitchers.
Other guys that want to play for Tennessee, I look at Dylan Loy. Dylan Loy, last year, great pitcher for this team, underwent Tommy John surgery. We're going to be excited to see him being back this year. I think he's going to have a nice year, too. We haven't seen him yet, obviously, but once he's back and ready, I think he's going to have a really good year for the Vols as well.
So I want to hear, now that we kind of have an idea of who this team is and the identity of it, I want to hear what you guys think is a reasonable ceiling and floor for this team. Following a national championship is not easy. I want to hear what you guys think fans should set their mark to.
The ceiling is going to be the confidence we should have in several guys who have played under that pressure before And we know the road. It's not this out of reach thing like, oh, our school's never been there.
Vitello's been there. Yeah.
Vitello's been there. And several of returning players have experienced that kind of pressure. Coach Vitello has said several times in press conferences that it was great. It was a great thing for the state of Tennessee, but he has a new group of guys who's even hungrier to prove that that level of player is not a year, every 2-year thing, that they are still at that level. And 29 runs. That's a career high for Coach Vitello. Tied career high. 29-4 UNC Asheville. We have our foot on the gas right now, and we are not planning on stepping off it anytime soon. This week, Sanford's going to be a huge test for this team.
Yeah, he's got intensity. I mean,
he's mad about the run rule. He was like, I want to play all 9 innings. He's beating the team by 29.
That's the coaching that you love to see. And you look at Caldwell too. I mean, Kim Caldwell.
Yeah. We're getting off track.
There's an aggression there that I'm really happy with.
Luke, send us home on the ceiling. I need a clear ceiling floor answer so fans know what to think.
I see no reason why this team can't make it to Omaha again. I think that's the clear ceiling for this team. Yes, we lost players, that's obvious. And it's always tough to follow up a national championship because the expectations are so high, put on you by the fans and by everybody around, saying, oh my God, will they do it again? By the rankings even. But I think there's no reason why the ceiling for this team isn't Omaha again and why they shouldn't be going for that. Obviously they are. And with the depth that is on this team, I think that is a very clear possibility for the Vols come later on in the season.
Well, the Vols' next game comes Friday at Lindsey Nelson Stadium with the series against Samford. And speaking of Samford, when we come back, I'm going to put these guys to the test and see if they can pick out Samford's players specifically based on just their names. I want to see if you guys did your homework. We're going to have to get to that. In the meantime, we're going to send it over to the Rocky Talk crew after this short break. Stay with us.
Whether it's our stories, the warmth of our laugh, or our family's secret sauce, we all bring something different to the table. So make some space. The power of connection is waiting right outside your comfort zone. Learn how you can help strengthen your community at belongingbeginswithus.org/teamup.
Be right there. Wait. Use the shovel and bucket of water, remember? Drown, stir, drown, feel. Then make sure it's cool.
Where'd you learn that?
SmokeyBear.com. Brushed up on some tips before we left. Don't want to start a wildfire, right?
Only you can prevent wildfires.
We are the Tennessee Volunteers. People who create connections, push boundaries, do the research that changes lives. We've got world-class academics and championship athletics. To be the best, you gotta learn from the best. And if you wanna lead, you gotta light the way. We've got what it takes. It takes a volunteer.
You all know what time it is. Rocky Talk is back for you. Get your popcorn and snacks ready as Jack Glennon, Jordan Smithman, and I, Jeremy Knopf II, bring you the latest in the world of basketball. So, without further ado, Vamonos! Appropriate for this segment's name, we start on Rocky Top as the Basketballs got some sweet revenge against in-state rival Vanderbilt in a final score of 81-76. It wasn't the prettiest of starts as the Tennessee Volunteers found themselves trailing in the Commodores in the first half by 16. However, the Big Orange would not be denied. Heavy hitters Chaz Lanier and Sakai Ziegler paved the way for the offense, scoring a combined 43 total points, most of which were featured in the main course in the second half, which was a 50 burger. This thrilling victory now puts the Vols at 21-5, 8-5 in SEC conference play. Now, despite this accomplishment, they also lost to Kentucky beforehand, so therefore the Vols find themselves dropping one spot in the AP poll, which is 6th. So while they're still in the top 10, this is crucial for bracketology, determining who receives a 1 seed down the road. So this begs the question. Did the Associated Press get this ranking right? And if not, how would you rank them?
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and start by saying that this ranking is absolutely correct. This is a well-deserved drop. Houston passes Tennessee because they beat, at the time, number 13 Arizona, which is a surging team. That's a great win for the Houston Cougars. Rick Barnes, after the game, I got to talk to him. He said that the loss to Vandy was because of poor defensive first-half play, and that's a problem that we've seen from the Tennessee Vols basketball team all season long. The first half has not been their strong suit. Now, they've been able to finish their games well. They've been able to close out games at the very end. But a team that can't perform in the first half and gets down by 18 points, I believe it was, is not going to fare very well in March Madness in that tournament. So the other thing I noticed was 11-point loss to Kentucky. That cannot happen. You lose to them twice in the same season. This is a team that you play every year. You got to be able to know how to beat them.
What about you, Jordan?
So I would also agree that this is a fair ranking. If you look at the rankings, all five of the teams above us, they all have better records than us. I mean, you have Auburn, Duke, Florida, Alabama. I mean, Alabama's probably going to drop with their loss against Missouri, but I think they all deserve to be ahead of us. And realistically, we do not need to be a number 1 seed. We crumble under pressure, and so I just don't think we need to be a number 1 seed. I don't think we'll do good as a number 1 seed. And even though what Jack was saying about like the 18-point loss, like if you have players like Sakai who just like get that edge and like get that chip on their shoulder, like coming back is just like all that matters, and we came back. So
Yeah, well, they've had their ups and downs this season, but getting a win like that against your in-state rival is definitely got to feel good. Well, as we look ahead to this weekend, the Orange and White will saddle up for a high noon showdown in the Lone Star State. Tennessee will be featured in a top 10 blockbuster against the Texas A&M Aggies, a squad that is highlighted with offensive talent such as guards Wade Taylor IV and Zurich Phelps. The Vols will also look to challenge A&M's 5-game winning streak, as they haven't lost since falling to the Longhorns of Texas by a single point. Out of these players and more that have been mentioned, Jordan, will go to you this time. Who specifically will be the Vols' main target to look out for or slow down in an attempt to win this big game in College Station?
obviously I'm going to have to go with Wade Taylor IV. I looked at his stats earlier today, and I'm like, how long has this dude been here? He's only been there 4 years, but he's one of those guys that feels like he's been there forever. And then each year we play him, he just gets like more dangerous, and like you always have to look out for him. He can go on scoring streaks, scoring spurts, and he's just dangerous, and he is the leader of that Texas A&M team. And also I would have to go with Henry Coleman, and he only averages like, I don't know, 8 points a game, but he is like, I feel like he's also the glue of their team. He's been there for 4 years, and sometimes he only gets like 2 or 4 points, but other times he gets like 13 and 14 points a game, and he also rebounds really well. So I would say that those two guys is definitely guys who we have to look out for, and we definitely have to look at how to stop Wade Taylor.
Yeah, definitely some characteristics we'll have to look out for. Yeah. So what do you say, Jack?
Here's my thing with Texas A&M. I'm not worried about any particular player. Jordan mentioned Wade Taylor. He's a really solid player, but his point totals are down 4.2 points from last season. Last year averaged 19.1 points a game. This season just 14.9. It's solid, but it's not a guy who's a prolific scorer. He doesn't do it on great efficiency. Texas A&M, speaking of efficiency, is last in the SEC in field goal percentage and three-point percentage. So you got to let these guys take the bad shots, make these mistakes. They're an ISO-heavy team. They love to go to their guards down the stretch of games. Let them take contested threes. Let them make the mistakes. But here's the thing with Texas A&M. Here's the adverse of it. This team is a great rebounding team. As my old coach put it, they rebound in a pack. It's a pack rebounding. So their guards get involved. Everyone rebounds, the forwards, the guards. They're averaging 16 offensive rebounds per game. They're buying themselves 16 extra possessions, and Tennessee struggle with getting defensive rebounds. So this is going to be a problem that I'm going to have to see Tennessee address very early in this game.
Yeah, you talk about having a game with so much magnitude.
Yes.
This is it. A game that not only will determine the seeds in the NCAA tournament, but also in the SEC championship tournament as well. So it's going to be a big game without a doubt. But on that note, we will now switch gears from the collegiate level to the pros, as the NBA recently hosted their 2025 All-Star Game. Or should I say All-Star Games or All-Star Tournament? Regardless of how you want to word it, the league debuted a brand new format for the All-Star Weekend in San Francisco. This tournament-style competition featured 4 teams managed by NBA legends Charles Barkley, Shaquille O'Neal, and Kenny Smith, alongside WNBA legend and VFL Candace Parker. Teams that were the first to score 40 would move on to the finals, which consisted of Stephen Curry's and Shaq's OGs defeating Chuck's Global Stars 41-25 to win this year's All-Star Championship. An awesome weekend without a doubt, but with a new format comes its praises as well as its criticisms. Taking one whole game, dividing it into 3 different parts with more teams participating, that was a rather interesting decision by the NBA. So I ask you too, is this new format one that will add more excitement to All-Star Weekend down the road? Or if not, what should the league do to change it?
This is not adding excitement for anybody. I'm just going to say that right now. This is an absolute disgrace. The NBA has reached a new low, which is really saying something. This was not engaging. This was not entertaining. This was trash. It was horrible basketball. 54.7% of Team Shaq's shots were three-pointers. 49.2% of all shots attempted this All-Star tournament or games, however you want to call it, were three-pointers. I can't watch this. These guys are pulling up from 40 feet. They're pulling up from half court. It's terrible, terrible basketball. Not to mention the All-Star game, in essence, is a popularity contest at this point. Where are guys like Tyrese Maxey, who's averaging 27 points a game and 2 steals? This is a two-way guard who's lighting up the league on a bad team, yes, but he's playing really well. Domantas Sabonis is having a historic season, 20 points and 14 rebounds on 60% from the field and 46% from 3. Where are these guys in the All-Star game? It's always the same guys every year because it's a popularity contest. So the NBA has reached a new low. That's really, really saying something, and I'm honestly disgusted by what this product is now.
Strong opinions for sure. Well, what do you thought about this?
But isn't that what the point of an All-Star game is? I mean, they just jack up threes because they're so good at it, you know? And it's just like, and that's just been part of the game, like the evolution, just shooting threes just like all the time. I think that the idea of it was good, but the execution wasn't good. All of the breaks in between that wouldn't have been good. But the idea definitely was good, they just didn't operate it well with all the breaks and everything like that.
Well, regardless of how the format it was another incredible weekend to see the league's biggest stars out in front of some of the biggest NBA fans as well, traveling all the way to the Golden State, the Bay Area, and we'll see if this is the format that teams turns to be all long term, or if they go back to just one singular game. But that is a discussion for another day. But on that note, we thank Jack and Jordan once again for their time here at the desk as another spectacular Rocky Talk comes to an end. But hey, don't you leave just yet now, because when we come back, Riley and company will be giving you the latest on your Lady Volunteers across campus. Torch Sports will be back in just a few moments.
The warmth of our laugh, or our family's secret sauce. We all bring something different to the table. So make some space. The power of connection is waiting right outside your comfort zone. Learn how you can help strengthen your community at belongingbeginswithus.org/teamup.
Be right there. Wait. Use the shovel and bucket of water, remember? Drown, stir, drown, feel. Then make sure it's cool.
Where'd you learn that?
SmokeyBear.com. Brushed up on some tips before we left. Don't want to start a wildfire, right?
Only you can prevent wildfires.
We are the Tennessee Volunteers. People who create connections, push boundaries, do the research that changes lives. We've got world-class academics and championship athletics. To be the best, you gotta learn from the best. And if you wanna lead, you gotta light the way. We've got what it takes. It takes a volunteer.
Hello and welcome to The Summit. I'm your host, Riley Halton, joined by Patrick Falcon and Lauren Gimpler.
let's talk Lady Vols. The Lady Vols basketball team is in the midst of SEC play and has just 4 games left in the regular season. Tennessee sits at 19-6 on the season and 6-6 in SEC play. Tonight, they meet the Alabama Crimson Tide right across the street in Thompson Bowling Arena at Food City Center for a top 20 matchup. Just how badly do they need this win, guys? We'll start with Lauren.
I think this is a must-win for the Lady Vols. We have yet to beat a ranked SEC team. Early seedings came out Sunday. We have that 16 spot right now. I think if we hold on to that, they have to win tonight. And if they don't, you got to go out and beat a ranked Kentucky next week.
Yeah, I agree. It is a must-win, and it's a tough game. I mean, right now we're 2-5 versus ranked opponents on the season, and just like the Lamry's intramural team, I mean, we can't win big games. That's our problem here. So this is a prove-it game for us, definitely. Alabama, they have a better kind of resume than us. They're ranked higher than us in SEC play. They're 5th, we're 8th, and they have a better overall record at 21-6 or 21-5, we're 19-6. So I think it's a big must-win, and I think more important than just holding on to that 16 seed, I think it's momentum going into the postseason. You look at teams in general, they're really good at picking up steam at the right time, and Kim Caldwell does that great in conference tournaments. When they do that, or when her teams do that, they perform very well in conference tournaments. Last year at Marshall, they went on a 10-game win streak and won the conference. A few years ago at Glenville State, 11-game win streak, won the conference, made the Final Four. 2017-2018, a 26-game win streak, then went 3-0 in the conference tournament and won their first game in the tournament, in the national tournament. I think for us to have success in the postseason, it starts now, and we need to build that momentum going into it.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, mentally, this team has come so close to beating so many tough opponents. Teams at the top of the rankings, they just continually to fall, single-digit losses. It's tough, and mentally, that can be draining for a team. A big win at home over a top 20 opponent, that's huge for a team. So in order for the Lady Vols to end up in the win column tonight, who needs to step up and be the X factor for the Lady Vols?
Yeah, I'm going to go with Talaysia Cooper. I want to focus on one of Bama's best players first, guard Sarah Ashley Barker. She's averaging 17 points and 6.2 rebounds. She's a 6-foot guard, so she's kind of tall, but Talaysia Cooper has that size to match her up, and I'm not worried as much about her offensively. I know she's our leading scorer, but she's also leading team in blocks, steals, and is 0.1 behind their leader in rebounds, so basically rebounds. But she really needs to step up. That's the most important matchup of the game. You look at our ranked losses, most of them have been because we're not playing good enough defense. There's been a couple where we struggled offensively, but I'm not as much worried about that. We have scorers on this team. We have shooters on this team. But who's going to step up defensively and stop their one? Because Barker is by far their best player.
I'm going with Sarah Puckett. Beginning of conference play, she was putting up close to 30 points just at the beginning of conference play in January. She was having those rebounds, and over the last few games since UConn, I'm just not impressed with her. Her game against UConn, great. She had that awesome three-point shot. Bama's coming in today, offensive team. Kim Caldwell has said in her press conferences all week, they're going to have to press on defense, and she has to come out there and get those defensive rebounds if we want to hold Bama.
Yeah, for sure. For me, look out for Jewel Spears, someone that's been on a tear recently as Talaysia Cooper has struggled a little bit offensively. She's picked up the slack. I'm really excited about what Jewel Spears is doing right now. But Kim Caldwell is wrapping up year 1 of her time as the Lady Vols head coach and has the Lady Vols ranked in the top 15. How has she managed to be so successful in just year 1 of her tenure?
We're playing SEC-style basketball. She came in, she's aggressive, she's fast-paced. We're taking these shots. We're averaging 90 points a game. That is not something that used to happen in the last 3-4 years. We are coming in, shooting shots, making shots. We're playing fast. Teams are getting run down when it comes down to the fourth quarter, and we're able to hang in there and win these games.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is that the players have fully bought into the system, and they believe in their coach 100%. I mean, when you get birthed and come back like a week later, it's hard for your team not to believe in you. But I think she had a quote that said something like, I hate when people say these seniors aren't mine. Like, these players are my players. She loves this team, and she wants to take ownership of that. She also kind of brings in that new style. It's kind of like an AAU game. When you look at it, we're running full court press, we're taking a bunch of threes, but these teams don't know how to play against it. And we have so much depth going that we can rotate. You're right, teams get worn out. Teams don't know how to play against it. They can't spread out that much. And then we drain threes, we're chucking it, we drain threes, we press up, and then right back on the offensive end, they got to deal with it again.
Yeah, I love what you say. It's not a formula that these other teams are playing against very often. But it's a championship winning formula. 100%. She's done it at the D2 level, was super successful in her lone year at Marshall, and now she's on Rocky Top helping out the Lady Vols and hopefully getting them to that same level, just at the D1 level of competition. So let's switch gears a little bit to the Diamond. The Lady Vols softball team is ranked number 6 in the country. After dropping the season opener to another top 20 team in Nebraska, they are now 10-1. What's led to the successful start?
I got to go with the defense side, and mainly the pitching. I believe we gave up 7 runs in our first game versus Nebraska, and besides that, I don't think anyone's gotten above 2. We have the second best ERA in the country with .75, which is ridiculous. Our ace pitcher, Carlene Pickens, she's 24th in the country in ERA with .32. The first 19 have like 0. So she really has like the best or the 6th best ERA in the country. It doesn't look like that, but I think that's definitely what it is. And we're also top 10 in runs. So the offense complements it nice. Don't get me wrong, not saying the hitters aren't elite. I love the hitters here, but I think the heart and soul, we got to get down to it. Pitching wins big games. That's baseball, softball, whatever. And we have one of the best in the country staff-wise. So.
All right, well, I'm going to brag on the offense. In our first 11 games, we're outscoring teams 99-16. Taylor Panel's on a 9-game hitting run right now. We are hitting these balls out of the park, home runs, going yard, you name it. This team has the offensive staff to go there. We just have a new hitting coach, Craig Snyder. He's all about their mentality. Every time you get up to the plate to bat, it's a fresh start. Every ball that comes by, new start, every strike. And he's out here, and I think that new mentality is going to help us get those runs in and bring it home.
Yeah, it's a team that's built to win, top to bottom, with a winning formula and a winning coach. This team's got it. This weekend, starting just a couple hours ago, Tennessee has a gauntlet of 5 teams, including 2 top 25 matchups in Cathedral City, California for the Mary Nutter Collegiate Classic. How do we think the Lady Vols do over the weekend? Let's say a record over their weekend.
Good. I'd say about, I want to give them the 5-0, but I'll say 4-1 to keep it on the safe side a little bit. I'm worried a little bit about UCLA. That pitching staff for UCLA might be better than ours, and that offense really needs to show up if we're going to prove that. Besides that, I'm not as much worried about the other teams. I like our hitters. I like the streak we got going into the game, but we just really need to step it up. They need to show me something here against the Bruins.
You know what? I'm confident. We're going to go 5-0. We have this momentum right now. We're on this run, won 10 games in a row. Home opener against Nebraska. It is what it is. We have this momentum right now. We have to keep that going into this weekend. We have a ranked opponent tonight. I think we can beat a ranked UCLA. Is it going to be a tough game? Yes. That is a tough top 5 matchup to play in the beginning of the season. They're going to have to come out. Offense is going to have to come out and hit the balls. We're going to have to pitch great. But I think we can do it. I think we can go 5-0 this weekend.
I think we also got to look at the location of the tournament in California. It's pretty close. I mean, there's a clear advantage there. I'm not saying it's rigged. I'm saying it's a little bit, fishy. But Rocky Top all the way to California is a little bit longer than UCLA to Cathedral City. So.
Yeah, I'm thinking the jet lag maybe gets them a little bit. I'm with you. I think they maybe drop 1 game.
But it's not our first game. We got a little bit to catch up the jet lag. Right. Maybe we'll get our ace back in the rotation. UCLA might too. We'll see what happens there. But yeah.
Yeah, this Oregon game that's going on as we speak, that's a tough one. That's a tough one as well. So it's all for the Summit this week. Have a great weekend and go Vols.
Whether it's our stories, the warmth of our laugh, or our family's secret sauce, we all bring something different to the table. So make some space. The power of connection is waiting right outside your comfort zone. Learn how you can help strengthen your community at belongingbeginswithus.org/teamup.
Be right there. Wait. Use the shovel and bucket of water, remember? Drown, stir, drown, feel. Then make sure it's cool.
Where'd you learn that?
SmokeyBear.com. Brushed up on some tips before we left. Don't want to start a wildfire, right?
Only you can prevent wildfires.
We are the Tennessee Volunteers. People who create connections, push boundaries, do the research that changes lives. We've got world-class academics and championship athletics. To be the best, you gotta learn from the best. And if you wanna lead, you gotta light the way. We've got what it takes. It takes a volunteer.
Welcome back to the Orange Zone. On my right, Sophie Starkey and Luke Tal. I'm Jackson Schock. Luke Lamry had to go cover a swim meet, so we wish him the best. Kind of a random event, but happy for him. Have a good call. Now, with the Samford Bulldogs coming into town this weekend, I figured it'd be a good idea to get to know our opponents a little better. And what better way to do that than with a little game called Is He on Samford? We did this a little while ago with Kent State.
Sure.
The results weren't that clear, and I know what you're thinking right now. Jackson, why are you wearing a Team USA hockey jersey? And I got two answers for you. Number one, because they played tonight in what may be the biggest game since maybe the 80s. And two, because the names that are not on the Samford baseball team are in the Four Nations Face-Off tournament, which happens. The finalists tonight, USA takes on Canada. It'll make sense in a little bit. So let's get right into the game. I'm curious to see how you guys do because there's some fun names in here. Also, I want you guys to play at home too. So everybody hop in. Everyone's in it together.
No pressure.
First
I'm
up,
about to not do well.
easy peasy lemon squeezy. Gatlin Pitts. Yes, no, Samford or not?
Gatlin Pitts. Off the bat, I don't think that sounds like a hockey player. So using that logic, I'm going to go Samford.
Okay.
Are you saying hockey players are born with like hockey player names? I don't
Yeah.
think that's how that works, but I'm
Yeah.
also gonna go Samford for this.
He
one.
sounds like he's got a full row of teeth. There we go. See?
That's correct. He's an infielder, right-handed pitcher for the Samford Bulldogs.
Better start than last time
Next,
already.
Yes.
this is 2 letters away from being an awesome last name. Cameron Kashak.
Cameron Kashak. Oh, you're
Why would
saying
you
the
say
two
that,
letters off.
Jackson?
He's 2 letters
wow.
off. It's a good last name.
Strong last
Could have
name.
been pretty
Be
cool.
stronger.
Cameron Kashak. Ooh. I'll go hockey on this one.
Hockey guy.
Hockey.
I'm gonna stick with Samford.
Stick with Samford. Final. Everyone at home has their answer. He is on
my
Samford.
Gosh. How does it feel to be
He's another
losing
pitcher.
right now, Luke?
We may see him tomorrow. All right, next up, Matthew Kachuk. Which one?
Oh,
Sophie, we'll start with you.
That's hockey.
Hockey?
That has to
I
be
know that's hockey because I watched him get in a fight the other night.
There we
So
go.
That's how I
He
know it's
is
hockey.
a right wing for Team USA. He's also on the Florida Panthers. Moving on, Hudson Schoaf.
Hudson Schoaf.
I have mixed feelings, but I'm still gonna go hockey here. That's
Okay.
not like shove.
I'm going to go baseball. I'm going to go baseball. I think you're wrong here.
All righty. He is
Boom.
on Samford.
What is that,
Luke
tied
is
up now?
playing. Luke is
are
pitching a
tied.
pretty good game right
Hey.
now.
Oh, we're tied.
Yeah, okay. I just feel, it's on me.
Wow.
Next up, Connor McDavid. Sophie, we'll start with you.
I'm 0 for 2 with hockey, but hockey.
All right, hockey.
Wise man once told me if you want to say a hockey player who's good, use the first name Connor. So I'm going to go hockey.
There you go, Connor McDavid. He is one of the best in the
go.
league right now. Also on Team Canada, he is a center. He will probably start tonight. Next
Still
up,
tied. This is
Jacob
intense.
Slavin.
2 C's. Are we sure that's not Jacob? Jacob for sure?
My understanding is Jacob Slavin.
Jacobs? Oh.
That's not the best
2
last
C's
name.
is very hockey-ish to
Okay.
me. I'm going to go like foreign hockey player.
Foreign hockey
I'm going
player.
to go like the Canadian team.
Okay.
To be different, I'll go baseball.
All right, different. He should have gone hockey. He is on Team USA. He's an American, though.
It's fine.
Born
I
in
have
Denver,
time.
Colorado. So
have
you're
time.
correct, but you were wrong
Half
while you
points.
did it. Moving on, Josh Learson.
A lot of double letters here. I'm not liking the double letters.
The problem is I go to like, that's not a real name, but I realize both of these names have to go somewhere.
3 E's is kind of crazy in the last name.
That is kinda-
I'm going to go baseball, though.
Baseball.
I'm going to second baseball.
Wow, you guys nailed it. It is baseball. I thought I'd
Wow.
trip. This looks like a hockey name
We're
if
kinda-
I've ever seen
we're
one.
kinda killing it
Josh Learson. He is Samford. Moving on.
I'm doing much better than
Jake
last time.
Gensel.
That's a hockey name.
Hockey
That's
name?
a hockey name.
Gensel sounds like a pitcher to me. I'm gonna go pitcher for
All
the
right,
Sanford
hockey
Bulldogs.
and pitcher. Jake Gensel. He
Oh,
is
that's
Are we
wrong.
tied
the
again?
leading
oh my
scorer
gosh.
right now in the
This is-
nation's
Is he
tournament.
really?
Also plays for the
Good for
Lightning.
This is
Gensel.
more
Yes,
intense
Jake
than
Gensel. Now, finally, Gus Gandy. Please tell me what team Gus Gandy
That
plays
seems
for.
If
made up.
Gus Gandy is a hockey player, I might lose it. I have to go baseball.
Me as
Baseball? Gus Gandy might be the most baseball name I have ever heard. It is
There you
baseball.
go.
He is
Wow.
an infielder for the Sanford Bulldogs. You guys did pretty well. That was
I feel like
impressive.
we tied. I
That was
think we
pretty.
ended up
I'm going to
tying.
give you guys both a win. I don't know how you did at home.
go.
I'm sure you did similar. Unless you know hockey, then you probably did really well. No, that was really good, and that's all the time we have. A little fun ending to
Fun
this
way.
rapid fire show. We usually run an hour. This was 40 minutes, so you get to go I don't know, party
Watch
up before
hockey.
the Lady Vols game tonight, and then tune in to the game. We're going to mention that in a little bit. But that's all for us at Torch Sports. If you want more content, you can follow us on Instagram and TikTok at Torch Sports UTK and on Twitter at Torch Sports _UTK.
Big
Luke, why
difference.
can't we get the under? Why do we need the underscore?
Torch Sports UTK was taken.
Who's taking Torch Sports UTK?
Gotta be
that's
different.
that's a great question.
We like to stand
It's
out
all right.
here.
The
at
Twitter's a little
TBC.
different. Most importantly, I want everyone here to know. Tune in tonight. I'm not getting paid for this. 8 p.m. Eastern. I just want people to understand that this is one of the biggest hockey games that may take place in a while, until maybe the Olympics next year. But this is one of the biggest games since the 1980 Miracle on Ice. So tune in tonight. If you like sports, you're going to like it tonight. Promise me you'll tune in. Cool. All right, so good luck to Team USA. Good luck to the Lady Vols tonight. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you right back here next week. Peace.